So boys and girls, today we're going to be learning some more about plants. The other day we learned about the different parts of a plant, the seed, the stem, the leaves, the flowers and the petals, and the new seeds that keep the plant growing. And today I want to talk a little bit about the plant life cycle. Now we've learned about life cycles before. We did a life cycle of the frog. That was a lot of fun. We also talked about the life cycle of a pumpkin earlier on in the year in October. And I think we've talked about an apple life cycle as well. We've talked about how a life cycle is similar to a sequence of events, right? The order that something happens in, and we talked about that in Reader's Workshop. So a life cycle is a great way to review all of those things. So let's talk about the life cycle of a plant. Where does a plant come from? We see them outside. We usually notice them when they're big and grown and have flowers on them, but where did they come from? So let's go through the life cycle. And first, we're going to start up here. So we talked about it the other day with the parts of the plant. The first thing that every plant needs is a seed. So step one is a seed. It gets put under soil, under dirt, and that is where the plant life cycle starts. And then step number two, listen for my signal words too, right? I said first there's a seed, and then from that seed starts to grow the roots. And again, this is all happening under the ground, under the soil. Hopefully you remember what the roots do for a plant. They help to suck up all the water from the ground and send it on up to the plant to keep drinking and be big and strong. Now, from a root, or after the root starts to grow, you'll see that more roots start to grow underneath the soil, but then it starts growing so big it starts pressing up and breaking through the soil, through the dirt, and that's what we call a sprout. So when we start to see that plant come through the soil, it sprouts up through the soil and the dirt, and we start to see the stem, we start to see some small leaves growing. And that is the third step of a plant life cycle, when the seed turns into a sprout. And then that sprout next keeps growing bigger and bigger, and we start to see it get taller, get stronger, have more leaves on it maybe, and we start to call that sprout a seedling. So the fourth step in the plant life cycle is that sprout turns into a seedling. We can kind of think of it like a baby plant at this point. Then finally, that seedling grows and grows and grows some more into an adult, and we have got an adult plant for the final step of the life cycle. And that is the whole circle of how a plant comes from a seed all the way to an adult. Now remember, a life cycle always works in a circle. It never ends, right? It keeps going around and around. So we went all the way around to that adult plant, and then up, we've got to get back to the seed again. Remember, from the parts of the plant, the flowers, the leaves, the petals up at the top are where the new seeds are always growing and always held, and that is where the seeds come from to start the life cycle all over again. So hopefully you understand how the plant goes from a seed, then it grows some roots. Next, it sprouts up and becomes a sprout through that soil. Next, it becomes a seedling, kind of like a baby plant, and finally turns itself into an adult. Now, for that life cycle to happen, a plant, a seed, needs certain things. So, what do plants need to grow and live and survive and bloom? And some of those things are hinted here on the poster for you. So, plants need water. So plants need water. Either you maybe water them with a watering can or a watering pot, or the best way for a plant to get water is from the rain outside. Plants also need sun. The sun is where they get their energy, where they make their food from. So we need some sunshine to shine down on the plants and help them grow big and strong. And remember, the leaves of a plant are what soaks up all that sunshine to help make food for our plants to grow. Plants need air. They need to be outside. They have to have air to get their leaves to grow big and strong as well. And lastly, a plant needs soil. You can't just take a seed and throw it on the middle of the street and think that it's going to grow big and strong. It needs to be planted inside dirt, inside some soil. So plants need water, they need sun, they need air, and they need soil to help complete that plant life cycle. I hope that makes sense for you, and I hope you found that interesting. Thanks, boys and girls.